This is Chris Down. Let me tell you something. I haven't drunk. I started drinking on New Year's. I haven't drunk in like 2 years. First time I've been drinking because I had, stomach problems. But we went platinum on niggas.
And we got the Grammy.
No, we don't have the Grammy.
Nominated.
We nominated for a Grammy.
But for the hood, we in.
That's like getting the Grammy. Being nominated for a Grammy.
That's my man Jim Jones right back there. We're gonna call him AKA Chris Sipper.
Goofy slapper.
Now, the reason we here is my nigga Tim Westwood. Let me tell you, I fuck with Tim Westwood.
What's going on, everybody? And welcome back to the RNC Radio live podcast. A couple days late, but we're still sneaking in on June. I'm Justin, and I'm joined by, once again, Josh Pease. What's up, Josh?
Josh Pease, ain't shit funny. I gotta bring that back. I always say ain't shit funny after Josh Pease.
You wearing an ain't shit funny hoodie.
Yeah, I'm wearing a whole ain't shit funny outfit.
Wow.
Even the motherfucking Stan Smiths. This is the official shoe of ain't shit funny. For real, ask around, man. Ask Adidas.
Nobody ask Adidas is fucking hilarious. Once again, like a lot of ain't shit funny gear that I've never got comped for.
Everybody says that. Everyone that I know be like, yo, I don't have no free ain't shit funny shit. I'm like, yeah, man, that's a pattern. That's the reason.
Hook us up with some ain't shit funny, man.
It's not cheap. Honestly, that's funny. I'm about to revamp the whole shit, coming strong. So be tune in, tune the fuck in, as the CC show says.
Everybody's literally always working on something. We, like I said before, we squeaked past May. May was a little hectic. I have to say. I think a lot of shit was going on in May. But how was your May?
My May was cool. It's gonna be May. That's the weakest meme on the internet. That's the whitest meme as well. It's just crazy. That's the weakest one. But nah, May was cool. Just busy, man. Like it's a busy season for me. I was just cooking up, doing a lot of shit. So
and me as well. I think a lot of shit was just going down. But once again, we are here. We are at least a little bit more consistent than going missing for 8 months.
Yeah, no, we back for real. It wasn't a test. We're definitely here.
We love the reception that we got from the Rick Ross Deeper Than Rap episode last time. We had a lot of really good conversation about Nipsey Hussle and Rick Ross and all types of things that were going on at that moment, at that point. And now we're reaching the hot summer period of the 2019 season. Not a lot of new shit. Right
yeah, now. Man. I tweeted this the other day. Like a lot of my new favorite rappers or like newcomers that's coming up haven't dropped their projects yet.
Nothing.
But I will say in the last 2 weeks, you've seen Cowboy drop his project, which is dope as fuck. You've seen No Cap drop his project, which is dope as fuck. And those are two like rookies that I'm really looking out for. So shout out to them. But yeah, a lot of rookies haven't dropped. Roddy Ricch, where you at, man?
Yeah, I think I'm waiting for Roddy Ricch too. I think everyone's waiting patiently to see like the relationships that he's already built in such an early career. What he's gonna do next? Like obviously, like his last mixtape was so great. He could technically drop an album with what he did last time. At this point, we do have a special guest here. We have Cameron. Hey, Mr. Cam, what's going on, Cam?
What's good? I'm happy to be back on.
Whatever. Like,
stop. The big homies. I'm really the big homies.
Cam, I think last time we actually did RNC Radio, when it was like last year, Cam did join us as kind of like the fact check machine here. But today, Cam.
Yo, it's crazy. That was like when I first moved out to LA.
It's been a year.
Yeah, that was in my old spot. So
It's been an absolute year since then. You started hosting Late Fees with myself and Eric and Pat. As a matter of fact, Josh will be on Late Fees next week.
Can't fucking wait. I got my stories and my notes prepped. I cannot wait. That's going to be a great episode.
And that is going to be talking about John Singleton and just hood movies in general on that episode. So stay tuned for that later this week. Not next week. This week. This is, of course, a week after our RNC Decade lists have dropped. We had so many arguments and so many debates about this. Me and Cam were kind of like at the nucleus of this debate. We had created our own channel in Slack away from Josh so that he could...
I didn't even know what the fuck was going on. I just seen the list drop. I'm like, oh shit, we doing some shit. But you know what? It's funny on that topic, just about the debates and everything and back and forth. The funniest critique I saw about the list was someone said like, I'm not taking the opinion of a bunch of former Complex writers.
I was like, what?
That's funny to me. I don't know. That's comedy.
Cam got something to say. What you got to say?
No, I was just like, man, that tweet was like crazy considering what he was arguing for. We had his guy
on the list,
in the top 5.
It was so spending like
he just wanted to throw some shade. Shout out to him. He was hot.
And I responded to it with a Rick Ross line, and he didn't really have anything to say about it. But shout out to Keith. I don't know if he listens to the podcast or not, but like that former complex shit was like, damn, I ain't wrote for them in like years.
Like, shout out to you. You had that time.
You had that way shit.
He was bad as shit.
None of us are actually employed by complex.
Oh, bro, that shit was wild. But we created this list, and shout out to Meals for being kind of the mastermind behind RNC Decade. We wanted to, really talk about, from 2010 to now, like what are the biggest moments, what are the biggest things that happened, what are the biggest sports moments. We had RSBN, we had the A Show, we had Late Fees, we had so many shows talking about the top. But the biggest thing is, of course, music and artists of the decade. And, we went over it and we kind of got in the group chat and we argued about it one Saturday, and I got upset and I felt as though people were unfair, and I made this idea where I was like, let's ask our friend Robbie Rabb to look over this list. And I was like, how about Josh? I said, we need to bring Josh in here. And everybody was like, no. Unanimously, niggas was like, no, don't bring Josh in here. He's going to ruin the list. And they were like, bring Robbie in. And I was like, I don't know, guys. This might be a bad idea. And Robbie fucked up the whole list. We had Thug at 5.
Yeah, I felt really good about the initial list with Thug at 5.
And then Robbie came in and said, it's Thug better than Meek Mill.
Mills just needed some backup. Mills needed like one person to like come right behind him. And once Robbie put that battery in Mills' back, it was over.
Well, it was unanimous that Drake was number 1. I think Josh, you could probably...
Yeah, Drake definitely number 1, I think. I like the list up until... I don't know, Ross at number 5 is a little shaky to me. I would have put Nicki at number 5, honestly.
That's fair. Huey might not like that choice, but...
I think I would have put Nicki at number 5. Honestly, Ross is shaky on this list as a whole to me. I think I would have replaced Ross with Wiz, just because I think Wiz...
At 5?
No, it would probably be like a 6.
Okay.
Honestly, I'll take that back. No, I'll keep Ross on the list. I'll probably take Meek off the list, honestly. It's a strong, like, Meek and Ross are, like, really shaking me because I think Wiz kind of influenced a generation a lot more, from the music even to lifestyle. Like
Cardi.
I just straight up, no one was talking about weed and music until Wiz came out on the scene.
Right, facts.
Like, you had Snoop was kind of like a dated version of that. You kind of had the 90s rappers who that went to like Method Man, was like a dated, but like who made that shit cool was Wiz. Like, I know a lot of niggas who smoke weed because of Wiz Khalifa. So it's like, I gotta give him that just straight up. And then just from the style, like the camo shorts, these niggas that dress like that now to this day because of what Wiz put on.
Shots and everything.
Yeah, so it's like, Wiz is definitely an influential artist of this generation. I think he should have been added. I'm not mad at Thug, though. I'm not mad at Ye. I think Ye could even been higher on the list, honestly. I'm not agreeing with his politics and shit right now, but
let's go through the list real quick from 1 to 10. Okay, number 1 we had Drake. That was a unanimous RNC vote. I think any list. I just feel like this. Like any list that doesn't have him at number 1, there's some hate. Yeah. Like there's obviously something going on with you. Like there's nobody. I don't think we've ever seen a rapper do what he's done in 10 years ever. I think maybe for this long. Like I've seen 50. We lived through 50, Pop, Big, all of them, and we haven't seen anything like this before. Like he is literally a brand. Like I've never seen someone brand themselves like that. Even Jay. So we have Drake number 1, Kendrick Lamar number 2, J. Cole number 3. Those top 3s that's fair. Yeah. Those are fair top 3s. Number 4 is Future. Number 5, Rick Ross. Number 6, Nicki Minaj, she was a late addition to the list.
That's surprising.
I voted Nicki in.
You have no whatever female hip hop is right now would not exist without Nicki Minaj.
Me and Mills had Nicki on our list,
and even some male rappers.
Did Mark have her too?
I think he did too. I think I had her on others, and we kind of had to argue her on after the fact because it was literally between her and Tyler at one point.
I think once you presented the argument, like I think besides Huey, like everybody was pretty much on board. Like, you can't, especially what you did up until about 2016, is undeniable.
Absolutely.
From 2010 through 2016.
Because 2016 is when more female rappers started to kind of appear, and they started to actually be competition. Number 7, Meek Mill. Number 8, Young Thug. Number 9, Kanye West. And number 10, Tyler, the Creator.
The Meek thing is surprising to me. I like Meek.
That was Mills and Robbie.
You got two MMG artists on there. like I wouldn't even Meek and Ross can't be in the same list.
Yeah.
You gotta kind of pick and choose, and then on top of that, I feel like Meek just hasn't like. Where's the classic at?
Right.
What was the mixtape that was really good?
DC2?
Yeah, DC2, amazing. But where's the classic at? Where's the
classic intro?
Yeah, classic intro for sure. I was gonna say too, like, I mean, it's gonna lead into the album talk, but like Culture? Bad and Bougie's a classic Migos song, but Culture isn't a classic Migos album or project to me personally. So I don't know. Like, I just feel like there's some flaws in there.
Migos was definitely batted around in the album contention part, but I think my biggest thing was I gotta ride for Nicki. I gotta ride for Thug here. Like I feel like they weren't. I was talking from an idea of inspiration, who he inspired. And if you want to talk about Wiz inspiring people, I think Thug is definitely up there. It should be a lot higher than fucking 8. You know, like I was very adamant about that point.
I think Thug was like. I think me and you having 5 on the initial list, and then because I don't think anybody can argue the top 4.
No,
I don't think the top 4 for this specific decade can be argued against.
It starts to get shaky around.
It's interesting that Josh thinks that Meek and Rick Ross can both be on the list. Like,
is it because they're too similar?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, no, it's just similar. It's motivational street rap. It's and you know, one does not exist without the other.
True.
And the one is Rick Ross.
Yeah.
So it's like, come on, like.
So this is why I wanted to invite Josh to the chat to that crew.
Yeah. But no, I'm not. I just feel like I definitely think Wiz needs to be on the list, without a doubt. Like, he's a shoo-in.
A lot of people did.
Yeah,
I didn't have Wiz on my list, admittedly. I didn't have him on my, but I wasn't. It was recency bias. So it's like,
no, I get it.
I wasn't thinking.
He's a legacy artist already.
Yeah, like I'm not thinking.
But that shows his impact and longevity and influence. He's a legacy artist, and he's not even 40 years old.
He didn't even got to work again in his life.
Like, he don't make $12 million every year.
Exactly.
Until he dies.
Exactly. Like it's crazy that it's like even in recency bias, you're not thinking of someone in the moment. You're thinking of them like you're not even thinking about it at all. But I'm just like, yeah, I used to wear camo shorts. Yeah, everyone wanted the blonde streak in their hair. Like, of course, like people still do it.
We were watching him record. I remember in high school, we were watching him record like his music when he used to do it on the Ustream. We would be in class, like watching those videos instead of paying attention.
How he was making a song for Cassie that one time.
Bro, like,
I mean, you got to even think about like the. It's funny you mentioned the blonde streak in the hair because that was like later Wiz, but then you got to think about like that whole Atlanta resurgence and like the hipster side of Atlanta. Like
he was right there.
He would kind of introduce that to the mainstream.
Yeah.
That We Them Boys video, like
that was all in.
A lot of niggas wasn't doing that old man dance until Wiz doing it. Like, and now that's the nigga dance. You in the club and you don't know how to dance, you doing that dance. And that nigga that's doing that dance in the club right now is probably doing it because he saw Wiz do it.
That's fair. That's absolutely fair. One artist who we move on to the next list was batted around for a while. It came down to the wire. He got put off the list. Travis Scott was put off the list.
I'm not mad at that just because Travis Scott is dope. He is the artist of the decade after what we're talking about. Yeah. But I just think
too early.
Yeah, too early without a doubt.
Yeah. So the albums list, which once again caused a lot of debate here. Top 10 albums of the decade. I think this is what I argue with the most, and what I just had issues with the most. And I just feel like you just can't put these two albums next to each other. But I'll go through them right now. Number 1, My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy by Kanye West. To Pimp a Butterfly, Kendrick Lamar. Anti, Rihanna. Nothing Was the Same, Drake. Number 5, DS2 Future. Number 6, Beyonce self-titled. Number 7, House of Balloons. Number 8, Barter 6, Young Thug. Number 9, Teflon Don, Rick Ross. And number 10, Culture.
All right.
Here we go.
I'm just confused. That's all I got to say. When did the decade start and begin? Because Culture came out when? 2017. And then
2010 through now is pretty much.
Oh, that's what we're doing.
Yeah, 2010 now.
I was confused as fuck. I'm like, what the fuck is going on here? So I feel like there was like some albums before 2010 that were on this list, but maybe I'm just tripping.
My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy was 2010.
Okay.
Teflon Don. Those are the 2 oldest albums.
Oh, yeah. Okay, maybe I'm tripping. All right.
Yeah. And House of Balloons.
Confused ass nigga right here. Smoke a lot of weed.
I was arguing at the time for 2 things. I had Barter 6 higher, but I wasn't really going to fight for it going lower. I just felt as though like people were trying to hose me on the Thug thing once again. But My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, I don't think is more of an encapsulation of the decade than Rihanna's Anti. Like Rihanna's Anti has some type of music, every type of music from this decade: dancehall, pop, rap, like a little bit of alternative. It has everything in it. Like I don't think that when you look back on 2010, that people are gonna be saying that Kanye album was the album of the decade, and that's just, it don't matter if you think it's better. I'm talking about in the time capsule. I wouldn't listen to this and say this could have came out in 2010, 2011, 2012. I'm thinking of Anti, like damn, this had every jam on it for 3 years straight since it's come out.
No, facts.
No, I'm not mad at that. It's funny, me looking at this list, I keep coming back to this. 9 and 10 are so easily replaceable to me, and I got the perfect albums to replace it with. Like,
what's that?
Flockavelli.
Oh,
came out 2010. Flockavelli will replace Teflon Don to me, and then I think 10. I would slide in Frank Ocean, Channel Orange if we're gonna do this.
He lost basically on his own greatness. In my opinion, it was a split on between Channel Orange and Blonde between people. And
yeah,
his own greatness.
His own greatness came out.
People love Blonde.
Yeah, me and
I've never heard anyone play this shit.
I love Blonde.
Who the fuck? Where do you play this at? Do you play it?
Yeah, basically in the
this is up there with Josh said.
This shit crazy to me. Like, people love Blonde. I'm like, I've never heard anyone play this song.
This is up there with Josh saying, who the fuck listens to Michael Jackson in their free time?
I mean, it's facts. Like, literally, I swear to you, I don't know nobody like, yo, throw on the mic jack right now. Who does that? Now, there's another problematic artist that you would throw on in your free time.
Oh, no, don't even say it. Don't even say it.
It is what it is.
I'm going to tell you what I had on my list that ended up getting bumped. I had My Crazy Life on my list.
That's crazy. I had that on my list too, in my mind. But you got To Pimp a Butterfly, which is like a similar story. But My Crazy Life is like, for the West Coast, I was going to say, like, for the West Coast, without a doubt it's on there. But easily.
Yeah, for sure. Like,
easily.
I think it's fair to say that, like, there's a lot of things that, it was a tough decision. And I think that Kanye, to me, and I said this to the guys, like, I'm looking, again, it's recency bias, but it's also like, I don't think that like a lot of that shit will stand the test of, like I was like, you know what, at one point I was like, you could put Yeezus there and I wouldn't be mad. Not that
I would
one.
be mad for sure.
Like, not that one.
Nah, I think My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy should be up there just because like, that changed the game for how people made albums. If you listen to that album, a lot of niggas started making albums with that cinematic feel and approach and bringing these different people together on these type of songs. Like, when you look at My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, that is Rodeo, but before Rodeo.
Okay.
And what he was doing Rodeo. So I kind of like, that's what I think about when I see that on the list at the
But
top.
number one?
I mean, I just feel like it changed the way people made albums. Like, a lot of those albums that came after that were influenced by that album a little bit in some shape or form.
Yeah.
Back to what I was saying though, about the Flockavelli thing, I really want this on there just because like, I feel like that ushered in not lowering the bar for rap, but allowing rappers to go back to being like, yo, I'm just going to make some shit that sounds good and has energy. Like, that brought energy and feeling back to the game where it wasn't so much bars and what you're saying. And, like, now you have Playboy Cardi's, even Lil Uzi Vert, who's rapping more, but he's still using that same energy. Pump. Like, there would be no Pump without no Flockavelli.
Absolutely.
So, like, I think that album needs to be appreciated more. And I think it had a bigger impact on culture than, no pun intended, culture. And Teflon Don. And I feel that way, I'm sorry, but I feel that way about Frank Ocean, Channel Orange too, because I feel like that album was the first alternative R&B album, where it was like some shit that was like R&B, but it was still like on some like indie type feel. And even how it came out, it was like some shit that was just like
dropped out the sky.
Yeah, like I remember that shit was on Tumblr, and I was like, I had met Frank before, but I didn't really know what the fuck he did or was doing. And I'm like, oh, this is the nigga that be like just hanging around. Like, and then I'm like, oh shit, this shit is good. Like, what the fuck? And then to see how that shit swelled and like how he was signed to Def Jam, how he forced Def Jam's hand, like that album changed culture and changed just hip hop and industry and what was going on. So like, I definitely think those two need to be appreciated a little bit more than what they were.
And I think the Frank Ocean argument, I didn't really jump too deeply into it, but I was like, I did hit a Josh's when I said, niggas listening to Frank Ocean?
Yeah.
Niggas is definitely listening to Frank Ocean. I don't know about Blonde.
For a decade?
But Channel Orange, niggas that throw on Channel Orange and be straight. Like, on some like real like some like hood girl in Compton to like a chick that reads the fader every morning. Like they can listen to that and be like, yo, this is like a classic. I believe that.
I think and a lot of people, back to the artist list, they thought Flocka should have been on the artist list, and I think him being on the artist list would have been an easy shoe-in for him to be on the albums list. But then again, a lot of people say Keith should have been on there. And did you feel like Finally Rich is like an album that deserves a mention in the top 10?
I don't think it should be in the top 10. Definitely top 20
for sure.
But yeah, it's like Finally Rich is great, and it definitely brought some. It was a great album. It's a classic. It's in the same argument as My Crazy Life to me. Yeah. So it's for that region. It was dope, and for that time. But it's like you got to be a certain type of person to really identify and hold that high. Yeah.
It's a tough. I mean, Anti again. I just go back to Anti and just what it did, man. Like.
And this is like what makes it so hard is when you think of everything that's happened over the course of this 10 years, pretty much in hip hop. Like there was bound to be people who got left off, right? That have valid arguments for being on both of these lists.
How'd you feel? Weekend was added back on because he
House of Balloons wasn't on there at first.
Yeah, House of Balloons.
My Crazy Life was on at first,
and they swapped it.
I'm not mad at House of Balloons because the mixtape version of that shit was like.
Epic. I'm never forget.
Like I was like, yo, this is that changed my life.
But how do you feel about Nothing? Well, we did a kind of crazy switch there. We had to decide because at one point we had multiple Future albums on this list.
What's the other Future album?
I had Hendrix and DS2 on mine.
Final list. The initial final list ended up having 2 Drake and 2 Kendrick albums.
Okay, yeah.
To Pimp a Butterfly and Good Kid, Mad City made it, and Take Care and Nothing Was the Same made it.
So we had to make a choice. As to what album was set. It was easy for me to pick To Pimp a Butterfly. I think that's good. But I think Nothing Was the Same with Take Care. I think not picking Take Care might have been the reason why it ended up at number 4. Why Nothing Was the Same.
I think if Take Care would have been on the list, how you're arguing for Anti number 1, there potentially could have been an argument for Take Care to be higher as well. I had Take Care on my list initially. It was my number 3 album behind My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy and To Pimp a Butterfly. But once we decided we were just going to take one from each, I went ahead and went with the album that I felt was better. I think Take Care is the album for
the defining album.
Exactly. I don't think anybody would argue that. I don't think that it's his personal best body of work. Yeah. And that's why once we ended up deciding we were going to take one of each.
I think that hurt him.
That's hard.
I think that hurt him a little bit.
That's hard. It's funny. I do think, I don't know, Take Care is great. It's a great album. I'm looking at the track list right now.
It's long as shit. That's my only thing.
I mean, but then Nothing With the that's the thing. Nothing With the Same was really concise.
Yeah.
And it was a really good. It was a great album too. Like, and you know what's great about this album is details all over it. Which I think detail really brought the sauce to a lot of what Drake did, like at that time and later on, and what Future is doing now. Yeah, like detail really came in and like helped give that R&B sauce to that.
And Future was pretty much a no-brainer. Like no one argued. That he should be or should not be on this list, and I think that's how it should be.
It was people arguing for DS2 to be number 1 on the list.
Robbie thought DS2 should be number 1, and so did
Ty.
Would you have been upset if you saw DS2 at number 1?
Nah, I wouldn't have been upset, but I would have been like, all right, like niggas is just like, niggas are drinking the juice right now.
We almost also had Die Lit on this list at number 2.
I would have been very disappointed. Honestly, I get it, and I understand where people are coming from, but I would have been very disappointed in this list.
So yes, that was the artists and albums list from RNC Decade. I wanted to talk about this list here, so that we finally gave Josh his opportunity to speak on this list. Now that he gets to see what it is, and thanks to everybody who engaged with it and who's talking about it, who's still talking about it to this day. It's one of our biggest, most viral things we've done on RNC Radio on our page. So thank you very much for listening to that. Before we get to the topic of the day, I asked everyone in the chat a couple of weeks ago a topic that they wanted us to speak on. And Huey, shout out to Huey, once again, another name drop for him. He brought up like what were our thoughts on using the media in promotion for an album, like how Dreamville did it for Revenge of the Dreamers 3, and they flew all these people, and there was like this big stink around like why are they bringing some of these people in and not some of these other people, and where are the women at, and blah blah blah. Like how do we feel? Do we feel like that kind of like dilutes the album cycle? Just to, obviously if I get invited, I'm gonna love the album because I was there. You know what I'm saying?
Nah, I don't think that's true. And honestly, I don't think that was the intention. I like the idea of inviting media. I think it would be cool if you kind of like was equal opportunist about it and invited one person from each publication. Yeah. I think Rihanna did that when she did the like 777 tour.
That was hell though.
Yeah, that was terrible. But you had a person from every platform or publication who could tell their side of it and tell them how, like, you know, whatever they felt. That was that idea going wrong.
Yeah.
I think the Dreamville thing could have been the idea going right because it was a great atmosphere. You had artists creating music, which people always want to see and want behind the curtain look at.
Yeah.
So I think it was a good idea. I'm not mad at it at all. I think press is definitely a part of telling a story or a narrative of an album or an artist or a team. So that's needed. It's not like something that's unknown or never happened before.
It's just that they kind of said, okay, we're doing it now.
Yeah.
Like,
and that was, and I think that was even cool. And it's like no one's done that before.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, I mean, just my perspective on it, it was a dope idea. Execution was really dope as well. I think they haven't capitalized on it as much as they could have.
Mm-hmm.
I think, you know, right after I would have been dropping records or even just kind of like keeping that story alive in some shape or form or fashion. But I think when they do drop the project, I've heard like bits and pieces of it just because like I have an artist that's on there. So I think it's gonna be a moment, and I think now when the album comes out, people are gonna understand what they were doing more, and it wasn't like come here and listen to this album and tell us it's good. It was more of a like, look at how we make music.
Yeah.
This is what Cole is cultivating over here.
Also, how do people even know that they heard the final versions of anything that was going on?
Exactly. They haven't. Honestly, if you were there that week, you haven't heard the final version of anything.
Yeah.
Not one sort.
Sessions of
exactly
going on.
But I think the dope part about that was that they had media there seeing a dope vibe. You had artists in production rooms recording, like you had artists in hallways, trading bars. Like that's something that in hip hop that's not really seen, and it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
So like that was dope. And if media wasn't there to tell that story or let us into that side of it, it was something. And straight up shout out to Yo from DJ Booth because he was one of the guys that was there, and I kind of read some of his pieces around that week. And it was dope. It was a good, insightful thing to read. So
I think he was the only one that got the most out of it.
Yeah.
Out of everybody. You know, I think I really did enjoy his piece. It didn't come off as, oh man, I'm here. We're buds. We're pals. It came off as like, I am a fan of the creative process, and I got to see what it was like. Now, there were a lot of people who were upset about it at the time. And there was a lot of people talking about they want to fight people.
Y'all niggas in this Twitter shit, y'all take it too far. I think year 2019 is where like I think it's going too far. I seen so many people like wanting to go to fisticuffs over the tweets. Y'all wild, man. I ain't seen people go to fisticuffs over the tweets. I ain't seen fights and little funny shit on the internet. I'm like, yo, this is over tweets.
Ain't nobody about to fight over no fucking tweets, man.
Right.
Get out of here.
Niggas done died over these tweets.
But there you go. That's our thought on should media be using promo. That's kind of like our RNC Radio, a hot topic we're going to do every month. We're going to ask somebody in our chat what me and Josh will talk about, and we'll talk about it. But what I really want to get into right now is our topic for today's show. It's been a hot fucking summer. It's a hot summer. We're going to talk about Cam'ron and the Diplomats.
Man, the set. Man.
Listen, I have pictures of myself. I don't know if you do, but I have pictures of myself with the bandana over under the fitted cap.
I had all the Dipset styles. I had the bandana over the fitted cap. I had the headband with the do-rag. I had all the oversized jerseys. I had the sweetest, speaking of oversized jerseys, BT, Brian Thomas, if you're out there, man, Inglewood, California, I think it was like 8th or 9th grade, I let you borrow my white Padres jacket. I've never seen it again. Fisticuffs when I see you, nigga.
Over the tweets.
Oh, God. But I feel like, like, back then, that was just like my style icons. That was like how these kids look up to Travis Scott and like all that shit now.
Were people dressing like that in particular? And we're going to talk about like each individual member in a second, but like were people actually, because like it was easy for me in Virginia because we're kind of in the middle. So like it was okay to listen to UGK, but everyone got cousins or we got people that kind of like come or commute from New York. So I kind of saw that firsthand because people in my high school would be dressing like that anyway. Yeah. And when Dipset made it cool, it was like, oh shit, let me get my Timbs, let me get my Air Force Ones, let me get my fucking purple hat, purple shit. What was it like in LA?
No, in LA it was like a select few, but it was funny. Like it was like the real fly niggas who knew. Like if you was a tastemaker and you was up on shit, then you was dressing like these niggas. Yeah. Like, and I remember like it was like me, my homie BC, shout out to you though. But it was my homie Reggie. That was one of the niggas I was like, that's one of the flyest niggas I've ever met in my life to this day. Like always been fly since like middle school, 6th grade, all the way up until now. Yeah. Like real fly, it's just crazy. But back then I remember like me and that nigga used to be on that shit like tall tees, wearing little pinks and pastels and shit, like throwing that into a wardrobe, getting the air, get the motherfucking white Air Forces and get the pink paisley print bandana on the check, like all that little shit, like that literally like it was frowned upon. Like girls would be like, "Oh, what are you doing?" Like even girls would be like, "What the fuck are you doing?" So it's like, but I just remember that was like it was like, nah, we know what we're doing. Like this is how Dipset doing. And then when the visuals start coming out, people start seeing that shit. They're like, "Oh shit!"
Earliest memories of Cam'ron, I have to say, like my sister had actually moved to California at one point, and so what she would do was like to keep me up on shit. She would send me CDs every single month. Like she was a big Rockefeller fan, so like I told her, yo, I love Old Boy, because back on 103 Jams in Virginia, they would play Old Boy all the fucking time during mix show. So she was like, okay, I'm gonna get you this Cam'ron CD. Bro, I had never heard anything like that in my life. Like Losing Weight Part 2 was like, bro, what the fuck? And like when he told you, well, yo, if you get lost, hits the OnStar, I love you. And then the song started, like that shit was like the craziest shit I had ever like heard in my life. Like I think more than anything, it was like they were giving you a vision of like Harlem that not a lot of people like at this point there's a lot of rappers from Harlem.
Yeah.
At that point it was just really them that were coming out of Harlem.
Yeah, nah, they had, and it just the fucking just the energy that they was coming with was so different from what everybody else was coming with. Like New York, you gotta think about it. Like when you think about the rappers that was coming up at the time, it was just harder. Like it wasn't like bright and flashy and like. And that's that Harlem flavor, but it's just like the way they were producing it or showing it to the world was like a more gangster, gritty side of it. That was still fly and flashy, but just gangster with it.
It was gangster and like stylish. So like you know the Old Boy video itself, that nigga Cam had bandanas in his rims, bro. Like, like what?
No, it was some real true style icon shit.
Exactly.
Like, these was style icons on their shit. Like I remember that. And
obviously, like you know, the run in the early 2000s, you know, there isn't really like the closest or the most adjacent run I could say to the way people treated the Dipset at that time was I'd say Young Thug in a lot of ways. Like coming up where I was at, like people would call Dipset gay.
Yeah,
they would say wearing pink is gay, wearing purple is gay. I was like, these guys kind of broke all type of the male, you know, tough stereotypes. They broke that shit immediately. And Cam said, fuck that shit. I'm wearing pink. I'll still shoot your ass.
Yeah, it was just dope to me because they created their own like ecosystem of just like of what these colors and what this shit meant, from like the Purple City Bird Gang shit to like having like Don Bishop Aguilar and all these people around it. Like it was like you can't think these niggas is pussy because it's like they wearing pink and purple, but like look at these niggas. They're official. Like the way they just freaking it was just dope. Like it was almost like on some like. Oh, it's funny, like, you know when somebody say something to you, like, it's funny, I was with my homie from Detroit recently, he was like, yeah, in Detroit, we call everybody my baby, and he was like, it's not no gay shit, it's just like my baby, and I'm like, that, like, the way they freaked that is the same way Dipset was freaking pink and purple.
Or saying I love you, telling your homies that you love them.
Yeah, it's just like kind of giving something a different meaning and not like ripping away that stereotype or that toxic masculinity, as they say.
But they ripped it off, but they still would like bleed toxic masculinity because they are the reason why people say no homo today.
To this day.
And pause.
To this day.
No, Cam, you were like 2 when Dipset was out.
I definitely wasn't 10. I was young. I was like probably 7, 8 years old, second, third grade, fourth grade.
Jesus,
I remember my pops. He got me a pink polo, and I remember I wore that to school, like in like third grade.
Was your pops a fan?
My pops was a fan. He had Purple Haze, all the Cam'ron. Wow. He's a huge Rockefeller fan.
Mr. Hay.
My pops was like,
shout out Mr. Hay.
And shit. So I had a pink polo. I went to school. You can only imagine how that shit went. Like, as a 9-year-old, 8-year-old. So I remember I got in a fight that day because I had on a pink polo.
Wow, you got blood on it?
No, I didn't get no blood on it. It got dirty.
It's so fucking
dirty for sure.
It's so crazy that people actually literally think that colors are gay.
Yeah, but
that's the craziest thing.
Little kids, bro, like you ain't know no better. Like the girl, all the girls had on pink and shit. So then I come to school one day with pink, and I knew what was coming. The day when my dad picked it out for me to wear to school that day, man, I knew what was coming.
Did you walk in with your fist clenched? Like
I was ready. I was on 10 that whole day. I was ready, bro, because I knew what was coming. And sure enough, at recess.
I mean, I think the moment for everybody is the Killer Cam video where he comes up like the fucking Undertaker from under the fucking street with that pink, and I still want this jacket. The pink Diplomats, like it was like a Pele jacket. I'll never forget when he comes up from that shit and he starts rapping it. Like then the fucking pink Range Rover pulls up and he starts rapping. Like, is there a more iconic moment in your teenage life? Like I can't think of one right now. Like that shit was like so iconic to me.
That was just it's just funny. Like that was just that's what I'm saying. Like they really defined the generation.
Yeah.
Really like laid the blueprint from just how shit should look, how shit should
for a
come out.
long time.
Yeah,
for a very long time. Like I could think of maybe 2002 all the way to 2005. It was nothing but them. Like mixtapes, everything. Like the slang, vernacular, everything. One thing I want to talk about is their obsession with 9/11 and 9/11 imagery. Jewels has a mixtape called Final Destination. I don't know if you guys remember that mixtape.
I do remember that.
With Jewels in front of the Twin Towers. This was maybe 6 to 8 months removed from that event happening, with one of the planes flying into it. What do you think that they kind of ushered in the shock rap era at that time?
Nah, it's funny though. The fascination with that shit was funny to me. Because
that's the word, fascination.
Nah, it's just because it was part of my words. It was a fascinating event.
Was.
Yeah, so it's like it was just something like coming. I'm pretty sure them being from New York, being closest to that shit, affected them in a million different ways. Like I remember they talking about the coke prices being up and shit. I could only imagine what the drug prices were like after that shit happened. That's like some real shit. They need to do some type of like, I don't know, Vice, if y'all still doing this little voyeuristic type of shit. Y'all need to do some in-depth shit about the drug market after 9/11 in New York. Because I'm just curious what it was like. But back to topic. The shit like, it's just funny, like, their obsession with that time, I think it was more Jewels than anybody, honestly.
Yeah.
Jewels and then Jim Lightly. I don't really remember too much Cam'ron.
Follow me through the debris of these towers.
Yeah. But I'm saying, like, that shit was a real moment. That shit probably affected the streets in a lot of different ways.
A young Muhammad Atta. No plane lessons.
Niggas was going in, bro. So to name drop like a regular rapper, quote unquote, would name drop Osama bin Laden. That's like, all right, if you even watch the news.
Future still does that.
Yeah, you just seen some shit, you didn't watch the news. But this nigga was name dropping the real shooters. God damn.
What's wrong with y'all, bro? Like, get the fuck out of here. Right. But no, like, I mean, that was just a part of it. It was like, as a kid, like, I think about it now as an adult, it's like, I was really saying these fucking lines and I wasn't thinking nothing of it. They thought we never survived, like Great American Pie. Like, that shit is like nuts.
If anything, it sparked an interest in this shit and made me study what was going on more than I should. Anyway.
This is true.
So
this is true.
Salute to you guys.
We also, I also think that like another thing that I think you could say as a parallel to like really what the South had to face, and it's going to be interesting. And another point I'm going to make about the Diplomats is that like a lot of people call them mumble rap. Like they called Cam'ron literally the first, like he was the first mumble rapper at the time.
Nah, I remember that. I mean, Get Them Girls and that whole verse and just the way he played with words on that, people were like,
it was so coded.
Yeah, but people weren't ready for that, and that's funny. I remember it was BuzzFeed. They found Cam'ron's nursery rhymes.
Oh yeah,
and it had like I remember that whole little story.
It was corny.
It was corny, and it was just. I mean, at the time, it was probably funny. It is what it is. That's when the internet and hip hop were really starting to first merge. That was probably like the first quote unquote meme. That was one of the first hip hop memes, I think.
Cam'ron.
Yeah, but it's funny just the way like people perceive that type of shit. It's just like if you go back to it, that's just like having style. Like they had rap styles, and like they was bringing that like. You can almost think about old rap and how it was like hip hop, hippie to hippie, but it was just like some real, like you said, coded language behind that shit, and it meant something. So.
I think, again, Get 'Em Girls, holy moly, pokey, like, you know what he's saying if you really listen to it. I remember having to have this argument with, like, the real hip-hop cats in high school, and Lord forgive me for ever doing that shit. But I was like, yo, you guys don't understand what this nigga's saying. Like, it's actually really deep, and it's like, he's actually saying some shit on here, and no one was ready for it. And I think, like, I draw that parallel to today. Like, a lot of people don't understand Southern slang. Yeah. A lot of people don't understand, like, even like you want to go to even mainstream, they don't understand Toronto slang. Like they still don't understand the type of that type of thing. But they weren't mumble rap. It was like literally slanguage. Yeah, that's how they talked in their hood. Like that's what it was. And I mean, I think Jim took it a bit further. Even with those radio interviews, like the Mace interview, he was like Goody Googles.
Oh my goodness!
It's one of the greatest interviews I've ever heard in my fucking life, bro.
Yeah, no, that's real. No, it's funny you talk about the interviews, because even in the interviews, they were kind of dropping slang and words that people just didn't understand or get. But you have to know. You have to be in the know. You have to know what. You just have to listen to Dipset music and know what they were talking about to understand what they were saying.
Harlem's own Rider Man. You know what I'm saying? Like, who else came up with shit like that? Like, I think that more than anything, like, they captured us as kids because they were like counterculture. They were rebellious. They were exactly like, I love Jay-Z, but there was a point when I was a kid, I was like, man, Jay-Z is a routine. Like, I can get this from anybody. I can't get the Jewel skit where the nigga getting head and the girl throws up on his shit. Like, I can't get that from Jay-Z. He's too respectable. Like, these dudes are still grimy. They're still hungry, and I like that. And another thing I like about Dipset is that how they kind of reached out to all aspects of rap in itself. Like, from the South, of course, obviously they fuck with New York, but they fuck with the West Coast. They fuck with literally everyone on the map. I think they were the first people from New York or the tri-state area that reached out to Houston at one point.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think they reaching out to Houston, reaching out to the West Coast with Jim Jones and Game.
Yeah.
Like, they were definitely one of the first like rap acts from New York that embraced other regions, because it was always that East Coast, West Coast tension, and just like, I think New York rappers as a whole always had this like, oh, we was birthed here, this is our shit, like kind of stay out of the way type shit. And they were one of the first ones who kind of like spread, like just were fucking with other people, like Cam doing a song Body Body Part 3 with Master P, like,
or Lil Flip, like him and Cam had their own mixtape. Like him and Lil Flip used to rock real heavy together. I thought that was like really dope because it was like the South was something that at the time I was just really starting to get into. Like, obviously I hear it, you know, on the radio and at home, but it was like, okay, let me start to delve a little bit deeper into who these people were. Cam'ron introduced a lot of people to, I mean, some people didn't even think, some people thought like 3 6 Mafia was done. Yeah. And they came out with the Scissor remix on their little mixtape as well. I think that, like, I wouldn't have known who the game was. Like, I don't know if you knew who the game was.
No, definitely. No, it's funny. Like, I was already hip, but like, that was a dope moment because it was like, oh shit, I was already hip to the game, and then when Jim Jones did some shit with him, I was like, oh shit, like, he's Dipset, I was like, these is my niggas. They fucking with game. Like, we're a rapper now. Like, he's really about to pop. And I think it's funny you brought up the scissor shit because like, Dipset were the first guys that were like really like
entrepreneurs
and just like about hip hop culture. Like, it didn't matter where you were from, it didn't matter what you were. They were like, yo, we're hip hop. We at the Grammys with fucking jerseys and shit on. Y'all hip hop too. Y'all might be from the South, but we're gonna embrace y'all. We're gonna embrace y'all culture because it's our culture. Yeah. And I think that's pre-internet. That's what the internet is now with hip hop. It's like everybody's from different places, but they're like, yo, this is hip hop culture. And I think Dipset kind of did it first, and they were like really like the cultivators and the first people who really like went and grabbed shit from other places and just made it their own.
And they monetized it more than anything. Like, I don't know anyone who was about their money like fucking Cam'ron and Jim Jones and Joel Santana at that time. Like, literally everything that they did turned to street gold. I mean, it all translated at that time.
They were putting out, like, you don't understand, like, they did everything from clothing to movies to pornos.
Killer seasons.
Dipsets.
Dipsets.
Literally, like, I mean, like, you gotta think about these niggas have done everything. Yeah. Like, it's crazy. So it's like, I don't know. I don't think they get the proper respect nowadays. Cause
people want to compare them to, like, somebody compared them to Wu-Tang one time and I said, no, they're not Wu-Tang. Like, these are the first, honestly, to me, the first internet act. Like, they're the first internet rap group where it was like, I remember going to umad.net. Or SOHH.com, all hip hop. Like, everyone was talking about these niggas. Like,
You Mad, that's a classic.
I had all of my former internet forum names was Killer Cam.
That's funny.
All of them was, and I would literally talk like him on the forums. Literally, like, I would talk like him on the forums. Like, I would type out his vernacular on it. Like, I was like 14 at the time, but I was like, yo, like, he's so influential to me that, like, yo, I'm gonna be like this on the internet, because at the time it was cool to be like a different person on the internet. Now it's like, look, you know, it's frowned upon.
Now it's something you gotta be your resume.
Yeah, like, but it's like, you know, 2002, 2003, like, that was a cool thing to do. I remember a bunch of white people hated me on video game forums because I would literally be on video game forums talking like Kameron.
That's comedy. I was always like, I used to be on forums. I just always lurked. That wasn't that time you talking to strangers. What the fuck is going on here? But nah, it's funny that I just think about like Dipset was really like those guys. Like, I had a big ass Joel Santana poster in my room. Yeah. Next to a Boys in the Hood poster. Boys in the Hood the movie, not motherfucking Jeezy and them.
Late fees this week.
Oh yeah, that's crazy. I can talk about that. But like literally, I used to get these posters like they do snipes in the road.
Yeah.
So in LA, they used to put them on like the stop signs and shit like that. And like literally, I would have my mom stop her car, hop out, rip the poster off, like rip it off perfectly so I could preserve it like with the staples and shit.
Yeah.
And I put them up in my room. And I remember I had What the Game Been Missing. It was like Joel's face with like the chess pieces and shit.
Damn, speaking of What the Game's Been Missing, there was a second half of the Dipset run. I mean, it felt like forever.
Yeah.
From 2002 all the way to 2005, but the second run effectively started in 2005. I had just got to college at that point. Kanye West was blowing up. I feel like a lot of things were changing in hip hop at that time, and Dipset was not there was no difference with that. The end of the Dipset run, so to speak.
Yeah, it's funny. Like when it started to end, I was like, damn, it was.
I was like, is this ending right now? Like,
yeah, it was like one of those like, all right, I'm about to step into y'all world.
Yeah.
You remember like wrestling and shit? Like you remember when motherfucking when it was like the Ministry of Darkness and they was like whooping like everybody's ass and they was like stringing niggas up and shit. Bro, you remember watching that shit and be like, is this really happening? These niggas is doing this? These niggas is winning? Like.
But to dig deeper into y'all world, I knew it was over when Dipset started getting different teams.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like it started to like splinter off, and like you have like members of Bird Gang, which was amazing. Like Jim Jones was really doing this shit. Like Max B and the Mel Matrix, Free Mel Matrix, Trey Way.
Oh my god,
fucking Trey Way.
There's always a way he can connect this to 6ix9ine. So.
Free fucking Mel Matrix. I don't know about that snitch nigga, but. Shout out to 6ix9ine, you made some good music by your shit. But I was saying, like, when it started to splinter off, I was like, what the fuck? Like, what's going on? And then I remember it was around like Summer Jam New York and all that shit was going on, and then fucking Jim Jones went on fucking Rap City.
Yep, I never forget that.
With 50 Cent. I was like, what is this nigga doing? Like,
it was again, y'all world shit. It was literally when someone came out and turned their back on the good guy in wrestling. Jim Jones came out from behind the curtain. Like 50 was like, come on back here, Jim. Come on. And mind you, a lot of these videos have been scrubbed off the internet. Like I can't find any of these videos. Like if someone can find this Rap City video with Jim Jones with 50 basically coerces him from behind it.
It's so crazy because I just remember so specifically like Jim Jones, you look like a fucking idiot right now.
He looked out like
you look like you're getting used. Do you understand that? And like 50 looked like he doing to use it. 50 said, "Hey, you are evil genius, my guy."
Because and again, like 50 was kind of like the crux of that beef because that's where it started from. Because and then like the second half of that run, Dipset had all but lost all of their mainstream support.
Yeah.
They had all left Def Jam and Rockefeller at that time. Cameron had gone to Koch at the time. It was still called Koch Records, and he was talking about all these lucrative deals that he had with Koch Records.
It was. If that's what the numbers y'all was getting back then, salute. He was like, I'm making $6 a record. All right, broke it down. I was like, this nigga, man.
At that point, I was like, they're saying anything, bro. Like, it was so crazy. Like, but again, it was almost like wrestling. It was like, hey, like, even though I left this federation, I'm in this new one. I'm making way more money. And I was like, okay, that's still Cam. He's still doing it. But it was like, it was a string of different things for Kameron at that point. It was the 50 Cent thing. It was him getting shot. And it was him eventually having a dust up, if you will, with True Life that led to it's gonna be a hot summer. Get my fucking pool in the back.
Yeah.
And it was not as big as Kanye's pool.
Do niggas remember but all right, there was that one, and then do y'all niggas remember when he jumped out the whip? What did he say? I don't even remember if he said anything. But he just jumped out the whip and then had a bitch twerking behind him. It's like he said some wild shit. It was like, just get her twerking. And then he just walked off screen. I was like, wow, this nigga Cam was on some shit right there.
But it was Jim Jones, and I think like a lot of it was like the confusion. We're all young at this point. It was like, what's causing them to like break up right now? It was like it seemed as though Jim wanted to go this way. Ballin had blown up at that point. He was even dissing Jay-Z. That's how big Jim Jones was at this point. Jay-Z didn't even pay attention to Cam'ron. He paid attention to Jim Jones and actually made a diss to Jim Jones. Jim Jones was like, I won.
Nah, that shit was funny too. That was like, remember we made Harlem's American Gangster?
Yeah.
Alright, my dude. Like, it's funny. That was a funny moment. That was just like Dame putting the battery in Jim's back.
And Cam's back, honestly.
Dame and Jim not even all the way being cool. It was just a lot of little politics going on. And that shit was just funny to see because it was like, damn, like, if you remember like the glory days of Rockefeller, you were like, yo, Rockefeller Rockefeller dope. Like they got state property, they got Dipset, they got Jay-Z, they got Dame Dash, and like to see all that shit splinter off and break up and not be as unified as you thought it was like I don't know, it was like some childhood.
Yeah. Everyone, and that's what I said. I saw on Twitter the other day. Like, have you seen this tweet where it was like all the chains of every label, and it was like if you could be in one label, what would it be? And then there was like a Cash Money, and there was a Rockefeller one. There was all these different chains. Everybody was like, I want to be Rockefeller. And every time I saw that, I was like, there's a shelf life on that. Like, there's obviously a shelf life on that.
I don't know.
Rockefeller didn't end very well for a lot of people.
Yeah, I mean, shit. None of it. If you look at all of them, I'm like the ones you named, that shit ain't ending too well for none of them.
No.
Who could I say?
Rockefeller was cool as shit though.
It was cool. The chain was one of the greatest chains.
Chain was like everything.
Chain was
I remember even when we me and Young, like that shit was cold to like me and shit when I was like 9, 10.
Oh yeah.
That was the first like piece of jewelry I saw where I was like,
you gotta have it.
I need that.
Or like the Rockefeller chain that had the world, like the Rockefeller worldwide one, the Latino one that had all the colors in it.
That's
True
what
Life had like
Aztec.
Yeah, Aztec and them had it like that was wild, but it was like at the moment like you just kind of saw it. That was the first kind of hip hop dynasty that we saw die before our eyes. Because like when Diplomats joined Rockefeller, it was like, oh shit, this is huge. Like, they're going to be the biggest thing ever. But now when they broke off from them, it was like it just didn't end well. And I mean, you continue with that with like Joel just kind of fading out of obscurity after that second album, and like he just kind of disappeared, and he never came back. And then in the end, it didn't end super well for Joel Santana, who is now in prison.
Yeah.
It's crazy. And he also
with no teeth. Jesus Christ. I saw a picture of him and somebody was like, yeah, man, he looked like he don't got no teeth. I'm like, fuck. How does nigga look like that? He in jail, he's not smiling, but cool.
But yeah, like Dipset obviously was a moment in culture for all of us, like from fashion to everything. I think like I still wake up and go through those mixtapes. I had a huge Diplomat Volume 1 through 5 rerun a couple months ago, like where I just had to listen to it.
You know what's my favorite shit? The Title Stays in Harlem.
That was really good.
That was my shit.
Which one? What was your favorite volume?
What was the one that had all the Mace shit on there? They was talking shit about Mace.
Oh, it's 2. Oh no. That was Nas.
Oh wait,
that wasn't a volume. They didn't talk about
maybe it wasn't Nas one then. No, it was 2. I think it was the Nas one.
Volume 2 was the one with "Hate Me Now," and a lot of people don't realize this, but all those volumes had all songs from the Diplomatic Community on it, and I was like, did they realize it was literally putting the same songs on this shit over?
Yeah, we're not. I think that was even the plan. It was like leaking the music through the mixtapes first, and then putting it on the album after. And I think that was like the first time people had like street singles, and not even the first time, but when people were really like playing with that concept in a different way. I think that shit was really dope.
I love Diplomatic Community. I think it's a classic. I think my biggest hang up about it is that they couldn't clear any of those fucking samples. Like, so why even put those shits on there? Like, they didn't even try and put like "You Ought to Know" on there or anything like that. Like, they literally just replayed the same. Like, what's really good? It's a fucking shame that we couldn't get the "Coming to America" sample on that.
Right.
It was literally the worst thing ever. But for that moment in time, Diplomats, for this hot summer that's coming up, we dedicate it to you. Thank you so much for being a beacon of who we are today. I don't think I'd be who I was today. I'm thinking I might drop like my old Cameron pictures when this episode comes out.
I gotta find someone. This would be a good throwback Thursday.
Yeah, for sure. Like when this drops, like we got to drop our throwback pictures of the Dipset. But once again, thank you guys for listening to RNC Radio Live Podcast. What do we got next month, Josh? Do we know yet? Are we gonna?
Shit, I don't know yet. We gotta think about it. If you got some ideas for us, send it in.
Yeah, for next month in July, we will be here in July. Hopefully, it will be hot because it hasn't been fucking hot in LA. This whole year, honestly.
No, it hasn't been.
But just in case you guys don't know, you can follow us at RNC Radio Live for all of the latest and greatest in all of our playlists. We have shows like Late Fees, RSBN, the RNC Radio podcast you're listening to right now, as well as we have the A Show Live Network, where we, of course, has the A Show there, Spot Callers, and all the other shows that you guys fuck with, as well as podcasts, as well as playlists, everything that you guys could, possibly conceive. I will be back with you guys this week for Late Fees. So will Josh. He will be there.
Yes, sir.
I gave him a cow, but he's so fucking excited.
I'm excited. I'm about to be in there. I got some stories about John Singleton in his movie, so I can't wait.
So check that out on this Friday on the RNC Radio Network. And until then, we'll see you guys next month on the RNC Radio Live Podcast.
Peace.